Hi everyone, today we're in the Porsche Panamera 4S.
The second generation, the brand new Panamera.
Yeah, and everything is new. So, new engine. Let's start with that. 2.9 litre V6 twin turbo.
Twin turbo. But
there's no turbo badge.
It doesn't say turbo.
That's because all Porsches are now turboed, but they don't call them a turbo.
But what about the turbo?
It is the turbo.
But
it's the turbo. It doesn't have a turbo. Well, it has
two turbos.
It has a turbo, but it's not the turbo.
But this is still a turbo.
It's still a turbo.
Okay.
So you get a
that's very confusing.
You get a Panamera turbo, which is a V8 turbo, but then you get a Panamera 4S, which isn't
a turbo, but it's a turbo.
That's a turbo.
And
it's
two
not
turbos.
The turbo. Yeah.
It's not just a turbo; it's two turbos.
Two turbos. Yeah.
So the big difference really is that this is a V6 as opposed to the V8. Okay.
In the turbo.
But this costs 1.5 million rand.
1.55 something. Yes.
As base price.
As base price, with no
before you've put
options.
any extras on it. This particular one has about 400,000 rands worth of extras, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, about 440,000.
Yeah. So let's cut the difference and call this a 2 million rand car.
This motor produces 324 kilowatts, which, as you say, is a lot of kilowatts.
That is a lot of kilowatts.
And 550 newtons of torque.
Which is more than enough to get you off the line, let's be honest.
Indeed, especially considering this has got Porsche's all-wheel drive system that gets off the line with the Sport Chrono pack, which this has in 4.2 seconds, 0 to 100.
Well, let's take a step back maybe and have a look from the outside. What Porsche have done. I think the whole redesign of the Panamera is almost necessary in the current climate, considering everyone wants an SUV. The first generation Panamera was met with, shall we say, only mild enthusiasm. And
mild if any enthusiasm.
Yeah, whereas the whole car has been completely redesigned. The front looks much more aggressive. The back in particular, I think, looks way better. And while this doesn't stand out in a crowd, which I don't actually think is a bad thing. In fact, I think a lot of people who buy Panameras want to blend in as such. They don't necessarily want to be the look at me kind of person, which is fine. And I just think in general they've done a much better job styling on the exterior, and then coming inside the car, even better.
Oh yeah,
I think this interior is so good.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of this interior. In particular, the way they have tackled the infotainment system. I've gone on record many times saying how I hate touchscreen infotainment systems, and I still hate touchscreen infotainment systems, but for me they do make things look a bit more stylish and integrated and so on, but you've got to have certain features that are still available to the driver on touch of a button without distracting you from the task of driving. Yeah,
it's not like you're opening up your iPad and now trying to find some silly app, to change your
Exactly. All I want to do is just change the temperature, please, or the volume. And those two things
are right here.
And Porsche have left those as specific buttons, which is brilliant. That's kind of what you want to change on a day-to-day basis, which is excellent.
This center vent though is probably a sore point for you, in that to move this at all, you have to go into a touchscreen and now start dragging things around, which is, in my view, it's a bit gimmicky. It's quite a cool thing to show your mate once, like, oh, look how my thing moves at the swipe of my finger. But in the long run, at least you don't fiddle with your center vent that often. If you want to direct air at yourself using this thing, that's to blow air around the car. Look,
it's winter right now in South Africa, so I didn't really notice because you've got the heater on most of the time, which tends to blow at your feet anyway. I think in summer when you get in the car and you either need the aircon full blasting at you or just generally circulating, then potentially could become a bit of an annoyance, but I didn't notice it as much as I thought I would. And as we'll get onto later, it's really one of the tiny nitpicks I have on this car, where everything else is pretty good. From sitting behind the wheel, how have you found that?
Initially, the first time I drove it, I thought to myself, yeah, understeers a little bit, you know, and you know that considering Porsche's split of power rear, front to rear, you know, which is actually mostly rear. You know, I was a little surprised, but the more time I spent with it, the more I realized that actually it's
the way you drive it.
It's the way you drive it, which is obviously, you know, the case in most cars, but you know, it's just a small change in mindset of how you approach a corner to induce understeer or oversteer. And you know, once I'd spent a bit of time with the car, then you know.
I think the first time I drove it, I actually warned you when I handed over the keys, watch for the understeer. But you're 100% right. It's how you drive this car. So you've got to watch out. If you go into a corner a little quicker than you might usually, and come off the power, it's just going to understeer. Rather go in, get on the brakes harder, come into the corner a bit slower, and get onto the power a bit earlier, and it just hauls you straight out the bend incredibly. Then if you want to be a complete hooligan and you say, oh, this car can't drift, that's absolute rubbish. Come into the corner and throw the car in, feel the weight transfer of the car, then get straight on the power, and again it'll haul you out. The back will step out, correct a bit, and then the four-wheel drive system will then tug you out as well. So you can have fun in this car, no problems. It's just about how you drive it. While we're on that, the driving position, I found the position fine, no problems. Obviously you've got a million points that you can set up on your seat, which is great. But the wheel I found excellent. The size of the wheel, the leather that they've used, it was really a nice place to be. And that the dynamic modes that you can select, I really did enjoy.
It's something that a lot of people have nicked out of Ferrari's handbook.
Yes.
And it works well.
I don't know, it just makes you feel a little bit more special.
It's like F1 drivers.
Yeah, exactly, which is completely stupid, because let's be honest, you're not an F1 driver, but it is a good giggle. I do quite like it. Something that I found this car does so well is it does everything well. So driving it like your hair's on fire, you get entertained. If you're just commuting back and forth from work, when you're going over horrible roads and you know you've got to deal with traffic and everything, I found this a really nice place to be. Everything about it just works exactly how I would expect it. So something I've always liked about Subarus is you get in and all the buttons are exactly where you want them to be, and it's a super easy car to use. This has all of that, but all of the technology as well. So it's a tiny thing, but I think it shows the attention to detail that Porsche has shown, where just connecting your phone to the Bluetooth system, which super easy. We did it within 5 seconds while on the move, and generally it's an absolute hack in a car.
Yeah, some cars are horrendously bad. It takes you like 5 minutes, and it keeps disconnecting, and you know, you don't have the right code, and
which is a silly thing, because let's be honest, most owners are going to do it once, and then when they next buy a phone, so maybe once a year at a push. But as I say, I just think it shows that attention to detail, which I personally really appreciated, and I found the quality in the cabin was such that sense of almost personalization, that they know who's going to be buying this car.
And coming back to your driving everyday scenario, you know, with the adaptive air suspension that's included on this model, you know, your comfort setting is actually fairly comfortable. And you know, obviously as you change drive modes, you know, it gets harder and harder. So you don't drive around on the freeway in Sport Plus because it's not pleasant. But you know, if you want to just get on on the freeway and go on holiday. You know,
Yeah.
that comfort setting is quite comfortable for what is a fairly sporty car when it comes down to it. You know, with its power and
Yeah,
and
definitely.
wheel
And also having the ability to raise and lower the car.
nose. Yeah, that's really useful.
That is super useful. And again, it just makes the car a little bit more practical.
Yeah.
Just to conclude though, I think the Panamera has surprised me. From the moment we got it to the moment we had to give it back, I just was never expecting something this good. I thought that the drive would be nice and, you know, the interior would be fine, but literally in every single aspect it's exceeded my expectations. And as I said previously, the package that it brings you, where everything is done to the nth degree, that is what impressed me. The fact that every single thing has been thought of.
Yeah, there is an exceptional level of attention to detail in the Panamera, and yeah, that is hard to